Hi there, this is Dr. Everybody with Project 8. And in many respects, Project 8 is like Projects 6 and 7 in that we've got some real data, we're going to read it in, we're going to process it, and then we're going to display some results. Okay, in this case, we've got some diabetes data, and it's arranged by country and by region. And so we're going to use this more complex data structure called a dictionary, which will give us a way of organizing it. Now, sort of unfortunately, because of the complexity of the data, the dictionary itself ends up being a little bit complex. Not a huge amount, but it does have multiple keys, and that will that's sort of where the complexity comes for this project. So let's take a look at this. So the file is just, again, it's a CSV file. It's got the data is pretty clean in here. You will see that it has things like countries and regions and then just a variety of data about that we might be interested in. So there's country, like in this case we start off with Afghanistan, and it's in the Middle East area. And then there's a variety of information, about age groups and sex groups and the settings that they're in, and the adults with the disease and the population in that group. So there's a variety of interesting information, and we have to now collect it. So as we have seen before, we will be open. We'll have this open file function. You've already got that, and then we're going to create a dictionary. It's going to take the file pointer that we created in the open file, and then that's going to we're going to read through the file and create this dictionary. Now, the dictionary is going to be arranged. So first of all, let's see what we're reading out of the dictionary. We are going to have, and we specify the columns that you have to deal with. So we're going to grab the country, which is index 1. We're going to grab the region, like Afghanistan, the Middle East region, and then the age group, like the age 20 to 25 or something like that. Gender, male, female. The area, which is in column 5. The diabetes, and here we are going to want to take an int of a float, just so that we're dealing with ints, and then the total population. And out of that, we're going to create this tuple with each of those pieces of info, with some of that information: the gender, the geographic area, the diabetes, and the population. Right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to create a dictionary, which I've called D here, which is a lousy name, but we'll stick with it because it allows this to fit into into one line there. And as I make this comment, there are some lines, there's half a dozen lines of code that go in here, and then we can add to my dictionary by the region, by the country, by the age group, and then we will so this is a dictionary of lists is what we end up with, right? A dictionary of lists. Therefore, I'm going to append my tuple onto that. And what happens in this area is we have to initialize things. So for example, when I start out, D has absolutely nothing in it. It has no regions, no countries, no age groups. And so so what we do is we check, if there isn't a region, let's create the region. And if there is and now within a particular region, if there is no country yet, well, let's create a country. And then if there's no age group, then we create an age group. And so the way we're specifying, it's a dictionary of dictionaries of lists. Okay, and so this here, it's like what we've done in labs that are in the book and so on. One way that I might suggest you do that is that, for example, if there is no region of that type, just create an empty dictionary, right? And then if there's similarly with an empty dictionary out for that region, and so on. And so what we return out of this function is this dictionary that I'm creating here. So then what do we do with that data? Well, we then will take that. Actually, let's scroll. There we go. We are then going to take that and pass it to some functions. So this function, get the country total, takes data from a particular region. So when you call this, you will be calling it with some region. And that data for a region is what is the input into this function. And what we're doing here is we're totaling, right? We want to find the total number of people in each country. So we go through country by country, total number of people with diabetes, and the total population for that country. So we have to go through this data, and we'll look, for each country that we have there, we are going to add up, the total number of people with diabetes and so on. So we'll have a new dictionary of tuples, and this will be by country, and so we'll have something, by country, and what we will do is we will have a list. Okay, I'm sorry. For each country, the name is the key, and then for each country we will have a tuple with the diabetes total and the population total. So that's how we handle the country data. Then we will then have a diabetes data for a specific region. In other words, that's what comes out of this function. So what I return from here now becomes the input into that function. So we sort of have this cascading, similar to what we have had in previous projects. And again, we receive the data for a specific region, and that we will use to prepare our data for plotting. And then we have the ability to plot, and the main function is going to it's going to start out, and it's going to create a dictionary. it's going to say, okay, we're going to call the open file, and then we're going to call to create the dictionary. Now we have a dictionary, and we're going to prompt the user for a region. So now I can have this by region. I can now get this part of the data and send it into the various functions like I mentioned above. And then again, as we've done before, we're going to have a yes/no in terms of whether we're going to want to plot or not. A little bit of information there on dictionaries. And so to make this a little bit more easy for us to handle, this create dictionary is going to work from a very tiny file. Okay? And so it returns a relatively small amount of information. And similarly with the get country total, we are going to take a very small amount of information for you to have to work with. And in fact, the input data is this dictionary. Notice the curly braces. Okay. And within that, so like for the entry Afghanistan, we have a dictionary of the age range, and so this is what comes out of the creating the dictionary. So we have a dictionary of dictionaries here, and then we have a list of tuples. All right. So for example, there we had the females and the males, and then we get a different range here, again with a list of females and males and so on, different ranges down there. Now curly brace there, matching up, so that is the end of Afghanistan. Here we go, matching up those two, and down here I have Egypt, and that curly brace and that curly brace match up, and again I have some data ranges, and within there we have males and females. That's my input data, and what do we get in return? I have a dictionary, key is a country, so there's my Afghanistan in this case, and my Egypt, and then with the totals of the diabetes, and then we're also adding up the population. So what's important here, and you can really see it with this example with dictionaries, is that this function doesn't know what countries will be coming in, and so it creates a dictionary by getting those keys out of the input, out of the parameter dictionary, and using that as a key in here. And that's the beauty of dictionaries, is that I have no idea what countries are coming in here. All I know is that it's going to have a country as a key, and it's going to have these age ranges in there. And then the preparing to plot, similar to what we've done before, and now when I actually run a test case here, you can see that what comes into it is we print out a bunch of choices here, and here's the Middle East North Africa region, that being selected there. And now for each country, we're going to see the count of the people with diabetes, that's this column, and the total population. And similarly, we can go through, now we can grab a different region, Southeast Asia, and so on, and we, then we can do some error checking, and eventually we will plot the data. As before, we have a function which sets up the plotting, and then you need to actually plot it yourself. So hopefully that gives you an idea